In this question, we need to find the values of k such that the line y equals to 9kx plus 1 does not meet the curve y equals to kx squared plus 3x into 2k plus 1 plus 4. Now, this is a straight line. So whenever you graph them, it would be a straight line. And now, if I talk about graphing this quadratic equation, so this quadratic equation, graphing it, it would look like a parabola. And whether it's concave upwards or opening downwards depends on the value of k, which is not given here. So now the question talks about we need to find the values of k in such a way that this parabola and the straight line does not even touch each other. So now whenever we talk about a parabola does not even touch each other, so that means there will not be any intersection points. So whenever we solve these two equations, so we should not get any intersection points. So that means no intersection points. So now how do we find the point of intersection if any two graphs or two equations are given? So we just have to equate them and simplify it. So when I equate both the equations, so I'll be getting something like kx squared plus 3x into 2k plus 1 plus 4 is equals to 9kx plus 1. So whenever we think about finding a point of intersection, so this is how we equate it and we simplify it. So now if I take all these terms to the left-hand side, so I'll be getting something like kx squared plus, I'm also going to expand this one. So this is going to be 6kx. This 3x I need to multiply it with both plus 3x times 1 would be just 3x plus 4. And if I take this 9kx to the left-hand side, that will become minus 9kx. And this positive 1 comes to the left-hand side, so it's going to be negative 1. And this is what is equals to 0. And now this is going to give me the answer of kx squared. Now 6kx and minus 9kx would be minus 3kx. And plus I have just 3x. Then 4 minus 1 has to be 3 equals to 0. Now, this one needs to be compared with the quadratic equation. The general quadratic equation would be ax squared plus bx plus c. So this would be my general quadratic equation. So in order to compare it, and in order to figure out what is the value of a, b, and c, so I would factorize x out here. So that's going to be kx squared. Plus, if I take x common out, so I'll be left with minus 3k plus 3 times x plus 3. Now, when I compare this one with the standard form of a quadratic equation, I can easily say the value of a is in place of a we have k, and in place of b we have minus 3k plus 3 or 3 minus 3k, so both are valid. Then in place of c we have positive 3. Now it has something to do with the discriminant. And the discriminant is nothing but b square minus 4ac. And whenever I say there is no solution, no real solution, so that means if I solve this quadratic equation, I should not get any point of intersection. So that means there is no solution. So in that case, the discriminant must be always less than 0. And if I substitute this information here, so b square is nothing but, I'm just going to write it as 3 minus 3k. So that's the same thing, whole square, minus 4 times a is k and c is 3. And this must be less than 0. And if I simplify this one, so a minus b whole square is nothing but a square, which is 9, minus 2ab, so which is going to be 2 times 3k. So that's going to be 18k minus 18k plus b square is nothing but 3k whole square, which is nothing but 9k square, and minus 12k is less than 0. And now when I simplify this one, so I'll be getting 9k square Then minus 18k minus 12k has to be minus 30k plus 9k square should be less than 0. And because every coefficients are multiple of 3, I can also divide throughout with 3. So that's going to give us 3k square minus 10k plus, oh, this is just 9, not 9k, because the last term would, I'm writing this 9 at the last, plus 9 is less than 0. So now this is the quadratic inequality. We need to solve it to get the final answer. And whenever we talk about solving a quadratic inequality, so we should always think about drawing a sign diagram for this inequality. So I'm going to take this as, let's say, a new function. Let's say this function f of x is 3k square minus 10k plus 9. And whenever it's a quadratic equation, so we can just equate it to 0 and find the root first. And I can, oh, here, so here, here it is 9. And because we are dividing throughout with 3, so that's why here it has to be 3. And so here too it has to be 3. And I'm going to solve it using by splitting the middle term. So I need to multiply these two things. So that's going to be 9. So the factors for 9 in such a way that so it adds up to the middle term. So that's going to be minus 9 and minus 1. So in that case, this is going to be 3k square minus 9k minus k plus 3. And when I factorize this, so I'm going to group two terms. So that's going to be if I take 3k common out, so I'll be left with k minus 3. And here minus 1 common out, so I'll be left with k minus 3 again. So this is going to be, if I take k minus 3 common out, so I'll be left with k minus 3 times 3k minus 1 equals to 0. So now we can equate each thing to 0. So I'll be getting k as 3 or 3k minus 1 as 0. So that means k is 1 over 3. So now these are the critical values we have it. And we are thinking about drawing a sign diagram for this function. So sign diagram means it would look something like this. So here the function is f of x. And here I need to think about writing down these roots. So that's basically 1 over 3 and 3. And clearly we know that the value of coefficient of k square is positive. So that means the parabola would be concave upwards or facing upwards. So that's why I'm talking about the graph of 3k square minus 10k plus 3. I'm not talking about the graph of the original equation. The graph of this one would look like concave upwards. So that's why here it would be positive and here it is negative and here it is positive. The other way of finding this one is, so we can randomly pick any one value which is less than 1 by 3 and substitute it here. So suppose if you pick 0, so 0 lies which is less than 1 by 3. And if you substitute 0 in place of k, so you will be getting positive 3. So we are getting a positive result. So that's what it is. Now, this is the sign diagram for f of x. So now, the question is talking about when does this f of x is less than 0. So that means when it is less than 0 means when it is negative. So that's clearly happening between 1 by 3 to 3. So that means when k is between 1 by 3 to 3, when k is between 1 by 3 to 3, so this function will not intersect. And this is the final answer for this sum. So now the mark scheme for this particular sum goes something like that. First of all, identifying the quadratic equations by equating them. So for this step, so for getting this particular step, or of course getting this step, so both are fine. So getting this step, so we can get 1 mark. And figuring out the discriminant must be less than 0. So that means getting this particular expression, that is discriminant is less than 0 and substituting this one. So this will be another mark. it's total of 5-mark question. And figuring out the inequality, the final inequality form. So getting this one will be 1 more mark, and getting these two critical values correct. So we got the critical values as 3 and 1/3. So if you get this one correct, so you will get another mark. And finally, getting the right inequality correct. So the final answer, you can get 1 mark. So in total, so we can score 5 marks by doing these steps.